Governments commonly assert their dedication to citizen prosperity. Governments also claim to ensure stability within their borders. Economic growth is another frequent promise made by governments. Governments often highlight their role in providing security for citizens. However, historical analysis suggests a divergence from these stated goals. Historical evidence may not always align with governmental claims of serving the people. Wealth concentration refers to the accumulation of a disproportionate share of assets within a small segment of the population. This concentration often leads to significant control over economic and political systems by those who possess the wealth. Power structures can become skewed, favoring the interests of the wealthy elite over the general population. This dynamic can perpetuate inequality and limit opportunities for social mobility. The concentration of wealth and control can create systemic imbalances that are difficult to address. Throughout history, dominant powers have employed strategies to maintain economic disparity. These strategies often result in the accumulation of wealth by a select few. This accumulation occurs while the general population remains in a state of relative poverty. Such trends highlight a recurring pattern of wealth concentration across different eras. Wealth extraction can occur through hidden financial tactics. These methods are implemented discreetly to avoid detection. The maneuvers are concealed to maintain secrecy. This ensures the financial manipulation remains unnoticed. Financial strategies often appear innovative, but many are recycled from the past. These tricks are consistently reused throughout history. The core mechanisms remain the same, despite superficial changes. Only the presentation and marketing of these tricks evolve over time. The primary goal is to shift wealth from the general population to a smaller, more affluent group. These mechanisms perpetuate a cycle of wealth concentration at the top. The system is designed to ensure that most people remain dependent on it for their basic needs. This dependency reinforces the existing power structures and economic inequalities. Inflation is one of the oldest financial tricks. It is used to extract wealth. It is also one of the simplest financial tricks. Inflation is a monetary phenomenon. It leads to a sustained increase in the general price level of goods and services in an economy. This increase erodes the purchasing power of money. Governments often face a situation where their expenditures exceed their income from tax revenue. This imbalance forces them to make a crucial decision regarding fiscal policy. The core decision revolves around how to address the shortfall between spending and revenue. This decision point is critical for the economic stability and future planning of the government. One fiscal policy option involves raising taxes. Raising taxes is often politically unpopular. This unpopularity makes it a politically risky move for governments. Governments must carefully weigh the economic benefits against the potential political backlash. Currency devaluation is a monetary policy tool. It involves reducing the value of a nation's currency. This can be done overtly or gradually. A quieter option is to gradually decrease the currency's value. This approach can be less disruptive than sudden devaluation. Devaluing currency functions as a subtle form of taxation. This type of tax erodes the purchasing power of existing currency. The erosion occurs without directly impacting individuals through conventional tax mechanisms. Each banknote in circulation effectively loses some of its value. This results in a generalized decrease in what people can buy with the same amount of money. Ancient Rome employed currency manipulation tactics. This involved altering the composition of coinage. The goal was often to address economic pressures. These actions had implications for the Roman economy. In the 3rd century AD, Roman emperors faced increasing military expenses. To address these rising costs, the emperors decided to modify the composition of the currency. This alteration was a fiscal strategy employed during that era. The decision to change the currency's makeup was directly linked to the economic pressures of military spending. Denarius debasement involved reducing the silver content of the coins. Initially, denarii were made of nearly pure silver. Debasement transformed the denarius into a copper coin. The copper core was then coated with a thin layer of silver. This process significantly decreased the intrinsic value of the currency. The reduced silver content allowed for the minting of more coins with the same amount of silver. The empire maintained a facade of normalcy despite underlying economic issues. The debased currency had negative repercussions for the general population. The public ultimately bore the burden of the empire's economic policies. This situation highlights the disconnect between the ruling power and the everyday lives of citizens. Inflation is characterized by a rapid and sustained increase in the general price level of goods and services in an economy. A surge in inflation erodes the purchasing power of money, meaning each unit of currency buys fewer goods and services. Savings accounts and other fixed income assets lose real value when inflation rates exceed the interest earned. This savings evaporation occurs because the real return on savings becomes negative. If wages do not increase at the same rate as inflation, individuals experience a decline in their real income. This situation leads to a reduced standard of living as essential goods and services become less affordable. Currency debasement can function as a hidden tax on the populace. This type of tax is often unnoticed by the general public. The value of the currency decreases over time due to inflation. This erosion of value effectively transfers wealth from citizens to the government. The government benefits as it repays debts with devalued currency. Citizens experience a reduction in purchasing power without a direct tax levy. Central banks now manage currency devaluation, a role previously held by imperial mints. This transition reflects a shift in the mechanisms of monetary control. Currency devaluation involves reducing the value of a currency relative to others. Central banks employ various strategies to influence currency value. These strategies include adjusting interest rates and open market operations. The goal is often to boost exports or manage inflation. Forced loans became a prominent financial strategy during the Middle Ages. These loans were compulsory contributions demanded by rulers. They served as a critical method for monarchs to fund their activities. These activities often included military campaigns and royal expenditures. Unlike regular loans, repayment was not always guaranteed or timely. Forced loans reflected the power imbalance between rulers and their subjects. Monarchs in England, France, and Spain often required financial assistance. Kings used their authority to compel wealthy merchants to provide loans. Guilds, as organized groups of artisans, were also targeted for lending. This royal coercion was a means to fund state expenses. Involuntary loans were imposed without the consent of the recipients. Refusal to accept these loans was not an option. Declining the loan resulted in punitive measures. Penalties included financial fines. Property confiscation was another possible consequence. More severe repercussions could also be enforced. Repayment schedules were agreed upon. However, payments were often delayed. Payments were sometimes made in devalued currency. In some cases, payments were not made at all. By the 17th century, a specific financial trick had emerged. This practice was no longer isolated or occasional. It had developed into a systemic practice within the financial system. This suggests a widespread and integrated use of the trick. The Bank of England was founded in 1694. A primary purpose for establishing the bank was to provide financial support for governmental war efforts. This funding was crucial for sustaining military campaigns and related expenditures. The bank's creation thus directly addressed the state's need for reliable war financing. The wealth transfer system operates within the framework of national finance. This system is structured to facilitate the movement of wealth. The primary beneficiaries of this system are investors. The financial gains for investors are supported by national financial policy. Ordinary taxpayers bear the financial burden of supporting this wealth transfer.